All right, guys, this is Michael from eKids, and I'm sorry I missed yesterday. I had some things going on that took me to the hospital, but not for me, but for other people, and I ended up not being able to record it. So today, for our Advent blocks, I'm going to do December 14th and December 15th. So I'm not going to go through all the blocks and do a review. I'm just going to read it to make this a little bit shorter. So let's get into it. We'll take a look at December 14th, Into the Lion's Den. It's from Daniel 6. It says, after Jeremiah's letter, God's people waited for God to keep his promise. They planted gardens and built houses and started families, but most of all, they counted the years. They remembered God's promise to bring them back home. So even though they felt alone, they knew that God was with them. Even when it was hard, even when they didn't listen, even when they were miles and miles from home, God did not forget his people. So he sent another prophet to remind them that he wouldn't stay far away forever. His name was Daniel. Daniel was one of the smartest prophets who ever lived. He was also one of the hardest workers. And he had a special skill. Like Joseph, Daniel knew how to interpret dreams. That was a winning combination, so it shouldn't surprise you that the king named Darius gave Daniel a great job and an important title. Daniel might have been far from home, but the king had given him a lot of power. Some people got jealous of Daniel pretty quickly. They wanted his great job and his important title, so they started plotting a way to take Daniel down. This was their plan. Everybody knew that Daniel loved God and prayed to him every day. So they decided to get King Darius to make a new law so that everyone could only pray to the king. Now, of course, you know this is a bad idea because people should only pray to God. Daniel knew that too, but the king didn't. And according to his new law, if people didn't pray to the king, they'd be thrown into a lion's den and become a lion's snack. So when this group of bad guys came to the king, it was over in a heartbeat. The king heard their idea and loved how important it made him seem. He had no clue they were trying to hurt Daniel. He signed the paper, and just like that, Daniel's life was in danger. Daniel heard about the new law, but he prayed to God anyway, just like he always had. He went to his room, closed the door, and prayed just like he had every day before. The bad guys were listening, and they knew Daniel had broken the law. They dragged Daniel before the king, pointed to the law book, and demanded that Daniel go to the lions. The king realized what had happened, and he regretted the law he made, but he was stuck. He had the soldiers throw Daniel into the lions. But even as they did, he said something that almost sounded like a prayer to God. I hope your God rescues you, he said to Daniel. The next morning, the king ran straight to the lion's den. He peered in his head and yelled, Daniel, are you there? You bet, Daniel answered. You thought I was alone down here. But I wasn't. Along with these lions, God was with me even when it was dark, even when I felt alone, even when I was afraid. God was here and he protected me. Daniel wasn't the only one that God was using miles and miles and miles from home. He was also using other prophets and still other animals to get all kinds of people ready for his return. And still, every day, Daniel prayed, because of our sin, God seems far away. But even in Babylon, I will hope and pray. God, will you come back to stay? Okay. So that is our story of Daniel in the lion's den, and you can see in that story that though the Israelites were really far away from home, they felt far away from God, that God was still with Daniel. Now let's check out today's, the December 15th. From a fishing boat to a fish's belly, the story of Jonah, from Jonah chapters 1 through 3. Let's check this one out. Here we go. Jonah was another one of God's prophets, and on most days he loved his job. He would ask God what he wanted to say to his people, and then he'd march around giving them the good news. But one day, God told Jonah to go on a journey longer than he had ever been on before. God said, "Tell the people in Nineveh that I'd like to visit them. Tell them that I want to make the wrong things right and the dark things light." Jonah was confused. He had grown up thinking of the people of Nineveh as bad people. I mean, certainly God wouldn't want to be with them. So Jonah decided to go his own way. He looked at a map and saw that Nineveh was way off to the right. So Jonah decided, if Nineveh is right, then I'll go left. That way I don't have to tell all those bad people that God is coming. So Jonah left, way left, and then soon he came to a big ocean. He hopped on the first boat he could find and made sure it was going even farther lefter. And even as the little boat pushed away from the shore, Jonah fell asleep, very happy with himself. But God was not happy with Jonah. So God followed Jonah. You see, God was with Jonah. Even when Jonah didn't listen to God, even when Jonah went the wrong way, even when Jonah hated the people God loved, God was with him. Because God was with Jonah, he couldn't let Jonah keep running away. So he sent a big storm to the boat to stop the boat. The waves were higher than mountains. The wind was so loud, it hurt Jonah's ears. And little Jonah in his little boat woke up with one thought: God is still here. I made a huge mistake. Jonah told the sailors, "This storm is my fault. The only way to stop it is to throw me in." The sailors weren't so sure, but the waves kept getting bigger and the wind kept getting louder, so they finally agreed, and Jonah went overboard. To everyone's surprise, it worked! The waves stopped. The wind went silent. That was good news for the sailors. Jonah, on the other hand, thought he was going to die. But God was still with Jonah. The fish swallowed. God sent a giant fish after Jonah, and the fish swallowed Jonah without chewing him, of course. And suddenly Jonah could take a breath. He looked around this warm, dark, stinky place and realized he was safe. Even if he was in a fish's belly, which we all can agree is a pretty icky place to be. When the fish spat Jonah out 3 days later, Jonah splatted out on land with a different attitude. I'll go to Nineveh, he said, and tell everyone there that God wants to be with them. You see, Jonah had done a lot of thinking in that dark, soggy fish belly, and he was learning that God wasn't just coming to be with Abraham's children's children's children. No, God was planning to come to all sorts of people, whether or not they looked like Jonah. Jonah thought they were good, whether he thought they were good people or not. So, when Jonah got to Nineveh, he preached a message I think you know. Like me, you need God, but he seems far away. And the people of Nineveh began to hope and pray, God, will you come back to stay? I said I wouldn't do much commentary, but I have to tell you, in that story, there's a lot more to that story. Actually, Jonah, even when he gets to Nineveh, he still didn't really want to tell the people about God, because the Ninevites, they were part of the reason that Jonah and his people felt so far away from God, because they had attacked Israel, and it was a bad thing. But still, the thing that we can continue to remember is that even when God seems far away, he's actually closer than you think. And Christmas is closer than we think. We're getting really close. It's 10 days away. So it's really exciting to think about. And I'm hoping at this point you guys are excited about Jesus, not just excited about presents. All right, guys, I love you. I hope you have a great day. And unless something crazy happens, I'll see you tomorrow. For now, bye.